In a world where old John Barleycorn brought even the strongest people to their knees, one man fought back and showed us a path forward. This is the story of Bill Wilson, co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. The Great War in Europe had broken out in the early part of the 20th century, and war fever ran high in the New England town where Bill lived. Bill enlisted and was shipped off to England. There he saw an ominous warning that soldiers could die either by getting shot or drinking too much alcohol. This was a warning he failed to heed. After completing his tour of duty, the ambitious young Bill took a job on Wall Street, believing that he was destined to conquer the world. The maelstrom of the world of finance quickly consumed him, as drink and speculation often go hand in hand. Bill's taste for liquor quickly got out of hand, just as he was convinced he could outsmart the stock market. At first, Bill saw some success, making, as he said, paper millions. Drinking in bars and jazz clubs began to consume his life. He began drinking around the clock, causing his friends to abandon him. Soon, Bill would get morning jitters unless he had a drink. In October of 1929, the world changed. The stock market crashed, bankrupting numerous people. Bill checked the stock ticker, seeing that it read XYZ-32. He was finished, along with everyone he knew. He tried several times, unsuccessfully, to get sober, resorting to drinking bathtub gin made by bootleggers during Prohibition. He and his wife lost their house, and his drinking ruined all career opportunities. No matter how much he promised his wife he would sober up, he always returned to the bottle. Bill began to question his sanity. After a relapse, Bill described the feeling as one of remorse, horror, and hopelessness. Sometimes Bill would steal money from his wife's purse in order to get drunk. He tried moving to different locations, but nothing seemed to help keep him sober. Bill describes battling this demon as hellish mental torture. He saw a doctor who gave him a sedative, but soon Bill was drinking and taking the medicine at the same time. A dangerous cocktail. He was placed in a hospital that focused on rehabilitating alcoholics. After receiving several different treatments, Bill says that he was confident that a better understanding would fuel his newfound path. But he got drunk again and was sent away once more. Bill thought his life was over and he would be doomed to an alcoholic death. He tells us that no words can tell of the loneliness and despair he felt. Consumed by self-pity, he described this overwhelming feeling like sinking in quicksand. But hope was not lost. Just in his moment of greatest despair, Bill was rocketed into the fourth dimension of existence. Once he turned his life around, he knew happiness, peace, and usefulness in a way of life that was incredibly more wonderful as time passed. What shook Bill out of his alcoholic stupor? It began with a visit from his old drinking buddy named Ebby Thatcher. Bill was hoping to get drunk with his old friend, but Ebby insisted that he had gotten sober and found spirituality. At first, Bill thought he was a crackpot and a kook. Intrigued but suspicious, Bill listened to Ebby tell him about a practical program of action to guide him on this spiritual path. While Bill was no atheist, he tended to despise religious people. He wondered, could he connect with a spirit of the universe who knew neither time nor limitation? Impressed with Ebby, Bill decided that he had nothing to lose and decided to embrace what he later called a miracle. Sometimes the word God rubbed Bill the wrong way, so he used names like creative intelligence, universal mind, or spirit of nature. Ebby gave Bill an idea that opened the door for alcoholics across the world. He said, "Why don't you choose your own conception of God?" Bill was taken aback. The statement hit him so hard it melted the icy intellectual mountain that had blocked him from spirituality. Bill now understood that God cared about humans if they tried to connect with him, and he was delighted with his new friend. Bill soon went to the hospital to sober up and surrendered to his higher power, asking God to remove the burdens that had been dragging him down. He never drank again. He told his fifth step to Ebby Thatcher, confessing all of the resentments, fears, and harms caused throughout his life. He no longer prayed for selfish reasons, but only for direction for how to be more useful to others. All that was required for this transformation was a belief in God, plus willingness, honesty, and humility. It was simple, but not easy. Part of the new path meant crushing the ego and delusion, turning his life over to the Father of Light. Bill describes his spiritual experience as feeling like the wind was blowing around him while he was on top of a mountain. He describes this experience as sudden and profound. The feeling was so intense that Bill had to check with his doctor to make sure he was not going insane. The doctor told him to hang on to this experience for dear life. Bill then realized something. How many other suffering alcoholics out there could he help with his newfound wisdom? He knew he must get to work, because faith without works is dead, so he chose to demonstrate these principles in all his affairs. He went on to teach others that if they failed to improve and enlarge their spiritual lives through work and self-sacrifice for others, they would be unable to handle the trials ahead of them. Slacking off would lead to a drink, which for an alcoholic means death. While symptoms of depression and resentment bit at Bill's heels, he trudged on. Bill and his wife Lois would go on to found Alcoholics Anonymous, where millions have recovered from their drinking problems. As he said, "There is scarcely any form of trouble and misery which has not been overcome among us." Alcoholics and their families across the world are grateful for this 12-step program.